Optics. Now they have a full line of optics, but what I want to talk to you now about is rangefinders. They have several different varieties of handheld rangefinders and the new bow rangefinder. Now for you bow hunters, you go ahead and sight in at 20 yards and you calibrate it to your 20-yard pin, and when you're at full draw, whatever you're pointing that 20-yard pin on an object, it'll tell you the yardage. So whether you like a handheld or you want to put one on your bow, we have both options for you here at Alpen and Bresser Optics.
I shot my biggest turkey.
You know, good optics are a must for a hunter. The new Alpen Tetons. They're lighter, they're better in low light, excellent glass. You'll be hard pressed to find that glass for under $1,000. Everything that you would want in a pair of optics. I know what I'm looking for, and once I know what I'm looking for and find what it is, that's what I'm interested in buying. The bottom line is they're affordable, they're lighter, and they're great in low light. The new Alpen Tetons. Another deer coming out. You know, good optics are a must for a hunter, particularly binoculars, not only during hunting season, but times like this when it's time to start scouting. But there's one thing you need to do when you get your binoculars that a lot of people don't realize. You need to set them up for yourself. Everybody's eyes are a little bit different. And here's how I do it. It's simple and easy. Just take the binoculars and just kind of grab good focus on an object, and I go and put my hand over the left lens. The diopter ring, which is on the right side, I will go ahead and adjust that until that right eye is in focus. Once it is, I take the hand off the other side, both eyes in focus, and you're ready to go. It's simple and easy, and it's a must that you do this before you go out and use them. Towards the end of the show, we're going to do something a little different than the weekly special, but it's going to be a great show. So sit back and enjoy the show. All right, we are back on. I'm getting some signals. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty this evening, so please bear with us. But anyway, welcome back once again on the hunt with Alpen Optics. And you know, turkey season is officially over, and I hope everybody out there had a great turkey season. And now it's time to sit back and throw those turkey breasts on the grill, and maybe get out and catch some fish, and or maybe just pre-plan for the upcoming season, whether you're a duck hunter or deer hunter or even a fall turkey hunter. But lots of things to prepare for. But anyway, hey, this week we have a special guest, a good friend of mine all the way from Michigan. He lives in the lower, and Mr. Lane Walker. And I'm gonna let Lane jump in and just tell a little bit about himself. And we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about tonight. Lane, how you doing?
Hey, Rick, thanks for having me all the way from the beautiful state of Michigan. It's a pleasure to be on. I've known Rick a long time, and I'm really excited to be on the show and share some great ideas. Really, the focus of what I do and a passion that I have is for hunter recruitment and hunting ethics for kids. And I think now more than ever, it's a huge topic that our kids need to know about.
Right. And Lane, tell the folks just a little bit about yourself. I know you were a principal for years, and you've done just a lot of things, not only the books, but, you've worked with kids most of your life.
Absolutely. So for the past 22 years, I was a fifth grade teacher. I've been an outdoor writer for 20 years. From being a fifth grade teacher, I moved on as an elementary principal for 6 years. And then I moved to be a director at a tech center of a county. And I've been in education, and I've coached and just really have tried to find ways to get kids encouraged and passionate about life. And one thing that I get excited about is hunting and fishing. So I kind of blended two of my favorite loves to one thing when I wrote the books. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today.
All right. Well, good. Well, hey, let me just jump over to our editor in studio there, Paul, just to give you an idea. Lane's audio is really low for me. I don't know if it's coming across that way on your side or not. So, all right. I'm getting thumbs up. So we're still having a few technical difficulties, but anyways, so Lane, you mentioned that you're an author of books, and I know that's kind of where you and I talked about a lot. And you've sent me, I've got all your books except for your new fishing ones. But tell the folks a little bit about not only your books, but how you got to the point that you were even wanting to write a children's hunting book.
Yeah, so I tell people it's a perfect storm. I was a fifth grade teacher. This would have been about 12 years ago. And I had one of my best students. We walked around the library and we couldn't find a book. He's read Hatchet, Where the Red Ferns Grow. He just could not find a book to check out. So he looked at me and said, Mr. Walker, you write from hunting magazines. If you wrote a book about hunting, that's something I really read. And I thought about that and I thought, wow, that's a great idea. So that thought was playing in the back of my mind. 3 years later, I had an epiphany from God, is what I tell people. I was laying in bed one night and I had the idea to write Legend of the Ghost Buck, a chapter book, a realistic fiction chapter book aimed at kids in grades 4th through 8th, 9th grade that got them not only interested in the outdoors, but also interested in reading. And I wrote the Legend of the Ghost Book. I sub-published it. And my goal was I ordered 200 books because I thought, wow, that'd be cool if I sold 200 books. And with a day and a half, and this is pre-social media, this is probably right when Facebook was coming out. So within a half of getting the books published and in my hands, I sold all 200. And I thought, wow, we might be onto something.
Well, that's fantastic. And I've read them.
I lost you, Rick.
Let's talk a little bit about Alpen and Bresser optics. Now they have a full line of optics, but what I want to talk to you now about is rangefinders. They have several different varieties of handheld rangefinders and the new bow rangefinder. Now for you bow hunters, you go ahead and sight in at 20 yards and you calibrate it to your 20-yard pin, and when you're at full draw, whatever you're pointing that 20-yard pin on an object, it'll tell you the yardage. So whether you like a handheld or you want to put one on your bow, we have both options for you here at Alpen and Bresser Optics.
And we're back. Okay. All right. Now we're back. And again, I apologize for any technical difficulties that we are having. But so not to lose my train of thought. But as I was saying, I've got your hunting books, and I know they're kind of oriented towards kids, but I actually enjoy them. And I've got a grandson now that's a year and a half old, and I'm just hanging on to that set until he's old enough that I can give them to him, and it won't be long. And I've got a granddaughter that's 3, so really here in just a couple of years, I'm going to hand it over to him. But let's talk a little bit. I know that you travel and do a lot of seminars, and I want to talk a little bit about something I feel very strong about, and I know you do as well. And this is really kind of why I do what I do, and that's to get kids, especially kids, in the outdoors, whether it's hunting, fishing, camping, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, any of that. But talk a little bit about getting kids involved in the outdoors, and maybe for those parents that really don't know how to get their kids into it, what they can do, and some of the things that they can look forward to.
Absolutely. I see it more. So I'm a principal of a tech center. So we have juniors and seniors, and we have the outdoors club up there, Rick. And it's amazing the relationships that we have about hunting and fishing. I mean, for me growing up, my dad took us hunting and fishing all the time. That's what we did with my brother and I. And living in rural Michigan, it seems, you almost get so used to it. You don't see the passion and the power of being in the outdoors. So I went away to college, and I couldn't wait to come home for gun season and duck hunting. And there was so much life lessons that my dad taught me in the woods and on the water. And I just see so many issues in families and with kids with social media and electronics and video games. And they're missing out on so many great life opportunities in the outdoors. And that's one thing I'm super passionate about. The first thing I would tell a parent is, one, don't give up. I always tell the story that when I was in high school, I loved sports. I love football, basketball. You're in high school, your mind's all over the place. And my dad would always wake me up for the duck opener. And I'd be so tired. And I would say, Dad, I don't know about tomorrow. And he'd knock on that door every day at 3:30 in the morning. And at first I had trouble getting up. But now I look back and I'm 41, and I say, I'm so thankful that I answered the door and I got out of my bed and went with my dad every time. And sometimes it's just life, and I'll never forget the talks we had driving up to go duck hunting or deer hunting. And, I don't golf. So when you get older, there's not a lot of things you can bond about. And hunting and fishing is just a great way to keep developing family and bonding and spending time together. Thanksgiving in Michigan is huge with football. You got college football and NFL football, but nothing's bigger than deer season. So, our family's Thanksgiving is built around, we come in from the blinds, we tell stories, and we sit around. So I really wanted to develop books, one that was aimed at getting kids excited, because I think if something's boring, kids aren't going to do it. And I think you have to make it exciting. That's why I like duck and goose hunting when I was younger, because there was a lot of action. It was up and down. So keep it exciting. Don't get frustrated if they're loud and they don't see anything. It's really about spending time, but don't give up, because those things my dad was doing and teaching me laid the groundworks for. Now the book is in hundreds of thousands of kids' hands, and it all started with those adventures growing up with my dad and my brother and my family.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that. And I also have had the opportunity to travel throughout the United States and do lots of seminars. And I have a section in my seminars about taking kids hunting. And I truly believe that kids brought up in the outdoors, like I said, whether it's hunting, fishing, camping, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, those kids, in my opinion, have a better respect for life. I see a lot of these kids, getting in trouble nowadays. And I've always thought that they probably never spent one day in the woods. So for that one reason, I think it's a great idea to get these kids involved in the outdoors amongst tons of others. So yeah, it is important. And if you don't have the time as a parent, or maybe don't know much about getting them involved yourself, you contact your local DNR, contact your parks departments, your Boy Scouts, your Girl Scouts, maybe a friend that maybe fishes or hunts or something, and they can introduce them into the sport, because it is a great pastime. I remember, when I look back at all the stories I remember about me and my dad, most of those stories involved a hunting trip. And those are my fondest memories. Those are the ones that pop into my head, right away. So I think it's important. But let's talk a little bit more about your books. Your first hunting book. Tell us about that one.
So the first hunting book, it's called Legend of the Ghost Buck. And it's not a scary, spooky. It has nothing to do with a ghost buck. A boy and his best friend tell everybody they see this huge buck, and they tell their parents, they tell people around town. Everybody kind of laughs it off. Everywhere I go, all the shows I do, someone will come up to me and say, we have a ghost buck on our property. I saw its track, or I saw its horns, or I got a trail cam picture. So it's kind of like a metaphor. The ghost buck is that huge buck that you dream about, and that it's probably on your property once in a while. And these two boys set out to prove that it's there and try to get it. Now, along the way, they have to make some decisions. They have a kind of a nasty neighbor named Jasper. And, that's the other thing people will say is, oh, I dealt with a tough neighbor. So there's life skills in it to get kids to kind of understand and learn to deal with things as well. But it's funny. My fourth book is called The Boss on Redemption Road. It takes place in Colorado, and it's an elk hunting story, and it's really about a kid that's obsessed with video games. And I get parents that email me all the time. Thank you so much for writing that. I can't get my kids off the systems. I try to write books that are relevant to kids, and they're filled with action and suspense, so they want to keep reading, but they also learn something really good through it. So that's been my goal with every book. And parents like them, schools like them, and kids love them. So that's been the best success for me.
And you've got 6 hunting books I know, and you now have a new series of fishing books on top of that. Let's talk about that a little bit. Why'd you get into the fishing?
So super exciting. So I partnered with my partner out of Minnesota last year. Went in a different direction with the books. I had the Hometown Hunters books, and he started to help me market the books, and sales went through the roof. And I said, hey, I don't know if you're interested, but I have an idea for fishing books, because there's tons of kids that love to fish. And he said, well, tell me more about it. And I said, well, I want to call it the Fishing Chronicles. And all of the books take place kind of like Hometown Hunters. So the first book, I'm in love with great white sharks, and I love saltwater fishing when I can. I know you go to Florida, Rick. I love the saltwater fish. So the first book actually takes place in California. It's a saltwater fishing adventure. And I had a blast writing it. Like I said, great white sharks. I love Shark Week. I'm obsessed with sharks, but it's a fishing book as well. Book 2 is a fascinating book because it's called The River King. It's about 4 best friends taking a trip in the summer down the river, and they get hooked into this gigantic pike. The third book is actually an ice fishing book. I did a lot of research. There's not any many books at all about kids and ice fishing. So the third book is called The Ice Queen, and that takes place in the fictional, or in Minnesota, in Baudette, Minnesota, which is actually the walleye capital of the world. And it takes place, and there's a big grand prize, and there's some family dynamics, and I was super happy with how that book turned out. And in that book, it's a sister and a brother on that adventure. And then the 4th and 5th book that will be released in July, book 4 is called The Bass Factory, and that takes place in Texas. And that's these 2 boys trying to win a state championship in bass fishing. That's a huge thing. And then my last book that comes out in July is called The Search for Big Lou. And that's really a summer camp themed book. It's got a ton of adventure in it. And there's a huge catfish named Big Lou. That's a big character in the book. But kids love all our customers that have bought the Hometown Hunters are falling in love with the Fishing Chronicles. So it's so exciting for me to see them. Now they're getting engaged in fishing stories too.
A lot of kids I know spending a lot of time on their computers and playing games and so on and so forth. And we just went through a year's worth of COVID, and people were wondering, what can we do, and how can I keep my kids busy? And here's a great tool. Get them these books, because I mean, like I said, I know they're kids' books, but when I started it, I couldn't put it down. I had to keep reading it, and and I understand some schools around the United States also have the books in their classrooms. So, I mean, obviously they're school approved. They're great books. But tell the folks, if I wanted to go buy one of your books, where do I go? How do I get it?
Well, the easiest way is to go to lanewalker.com or lanewalkerbooks.com. And I'll tell you what, we have an affiliate site in Canada. We sell a ton of books in Canada as well. And they're in schools, not only in the continental US, but all over Canada. There's no killing in it. Now there's Harvard, you kill some animals once in a while in the books, but it's really PG, and it's aimed at kids. I mean, people that are there's some people that are kind of, that question, do they kill in the books? Well, yeah, this is hunting. I mean, that's what you do. But not every book does an animal die, or, in fact, the Hunt for Scarface, the turkey book, has a twist in the ending, and the turkey has a run of luck more than the hunters. I'll say that. But no, schools have loved them, and that's been encouraging. And like I said, it's really led a lot of readers. I've had people that have emailed me. I had a kid email me from Iowa, Minnesota, saying, Mr. Walker, I've never hunted. I looked at the cover, thought it was cool. Now I want to go hunting. So for me, that makes me so happy. I mean, that really melts my heart. And we've sold a lot of copies of the books, and I get emails daily from parents and from kids, and it really keeps me writing.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've had a lot of turkeys outsmart me, so to speak, over the years. And speaking of turkey season, how was your turkey season?
Well, we had a mild winter in Michigan, and like you said, if anything good came out of COVID, we got to kind of rewind and back down a little bit. So last year, it was right before turkey season, and the last two turkey seasons have been phenomenal in Michigan. Every year I go with my best friend, he comes home and we go out and he killed a big turkey and I videoed it. My dad got one, my brother, my nephew. I only went out a couple of times. My daughters were in softball, track, basketball, but it was phenomenal. We have so many turkeys. That mild winter was great. We have turkeys all over. I wake up to turkeys gobbling. It's been fantastic.
Well, that's great. I know I was supposed to actually go to Michigan this year, and that kind of all fell through. But we've been talking about hunting together now for several years, and we just got to pinpoint a date and make it happen. And I need to get up there. It's a great place. Michigan is a beautiful state, and
we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it happen because I owe you at least one good turkey. And like I said, I bragged about these Lower Peninsula turkeys for a long time. So I think you're due to come up and get one. I'll even give you my best spot, Rick.
Well, you don't need to do that, but we'll have a good hunt regardless. So what do you is your fishing season, I guess, is on now? Your walleye season is open. Have you been out at all, or?
Yeah, well, I just ordered some new poles yesterday. It was slow. The season opened. It was cold. Big in Michigan, it was 37 and sleeting a week ago, and it was 84 today. So that really affects the fish. The water temperature. Is still about 52 degrees. They're catching walleye, steelhead, and I actually just got a boat. So yeah, we're going fishing this weekend. Can't wait.
Yeah, it's weird because about a month ago, I actually shot a turkey in the snow in Indiana, and now we've gone, and in Iowa the weather's been pretty cold up until 2 weeks ago. It seems like we go from winter to summer, and we don't even really have spring anymore because it's in the mid 80s and supposed to be all week and just humid, and it's tough when you're out working outside and stuff. But it's part of it. So
well, we can go through all four seasons in about 3 days, Rick, in Michigan. That's a fact.
Oh, I know. And up in the UP where I've spent some time over the years, it's unbelievable how much snow they get in the winter. Do you guys get as much snow as they do typically, or?
No, we don't get as much snow, but we get. I'm located in the Thumb, which is right by Lake Huron, so we get a lot of lake effect snow. So we get quite a bit of snow. But like I said, we've had a couple mild winters, and I can tell in the turkey population, the deer population, that's one positive of it. But yeah, we do get a lot of snow. We get a lot of snow. But I can tell you, the whole COVID thing. I think that I have parents ask me all the time, well, how can I get my kid to read? That's really the hardest thing, and I tell them. I don't like to run or exercise. I'm getting older. It gets hard, but that really is something that I have to make myself do. And then when I'm done, I feel good. I know I did something good. I always feel better. Reading is the same way. You have to really find a spot and dedicate yourself. And our girls, we used to have a 30-minute time block where they just stopped and just read every day. And, we get a lot of requests to put them into Kindles and stuff, and I'm just not there yet. I just think there's something magical about grabbing a paperback book, going and sitting by the fire, going and sitting by a window, and just losing your reality in a story. Why not be a good hunting and fishing story, right? Yep. So that's what I tell them. You almost have to encourage and make a kid set time aside, and then you got to find a book that interests them. That's where the Hometown Hunters and the Fishing Chronicles come in.
All right. Speaking of the book, and I did say that we were going to have a little bit of a twist. We normally every show have a weekly special. Well, this week we're going to do something completely different. Lane is going to donate a whole set of books, 6 hunting books and 3 of his latest fishing books. And we're going to try to make it as simple as possible. So what I'd like everybody to do, anybody has watched this for the next week, if you'll make a comment or a post of some sort that I was watching, or I'm on, or put me in for the drawing, whatever you want to do, on this live episode, and then we distribute this out. So for the next week, anybody that makes a comment, we're gonna draw from those people, and Lane is actually going to send a set of books to that person that wins. So Lane, we appreciate that for sure, and we'll get you on this show again here sometime. And once again, I apologize for any technical difficulties that we had starting at the beginning of the show. But Lane, any last minute comments for the kids out there?
Yeah, my comment is get in the outdoors. Enjoy. Put your phone away. Shut your video game. Quit playing Fortnite. If mom and dad don't, find an uncle, a neighbor, find someone that'll get you on the water in the woods, because it'll build things in your life that nothing on social media or video games can. And I credit a lot of my success to the times I spent, and I still spend, with my dad, my brother, my family, and just being out in nature and feeling the peace and tranquility of watching a sunrise from a November tree stand. There's nothing better. There's nothing better than that.
Well spoken. Well, Lane, thank you for being on the show, and I'm going to cut the show off here. We're getting towards the end, but we'll see you guys next week on the hunt with Alpine Optics. Good night, everybody.
You know, good optics are a must for a hunter, particularly binoculars, not only during hunting season, but times like this when it's time to start scouting. But there's one thing you need to do when you get your binoculars that a lot of people don't realize. You need to set them up for yourself. Everybody's eyes are a little bit different. And here's how I do it. It's simple and easy. Just take the binoculars and just kind of grab good focus on an object. And I go and put my hand over the left lens. The diopter ring, which is on the right side, I will go ahead and adjust that until that right eye is in focus. Once it is, I take the hand off the other side, both eyes in focus, and you're ready to go. It's simple and easy, and it's a must that you do this before you go out and use them. You know, here we are midsummer here in Iowa, and I'm just out doing some scouting, glassing deer, kind of taking an inventory of what I've got, and doing it from a distance. I've got one of the new Alpine spotting scopes. It's a 20 by 60, but one of the things I really like about this, it comes with a tripod, and it's got micro adjustments, so it's real easy to zoom in and move around and find those animals. But basically, this is a great tool to help me manage the farm all year round. If you're looking for a great way to do some scouting, do it in the evening from a distance with a nice spotting scope. You know, good optics are a must for a hunter. The new Alpine Tetons. They're lighter, they're better in low light, excellent glass. You'll be hard pressed to find that glass for under $1,000. Everything that you would want in a pair of optics. I know what I'm looking for, and once I know what I'm looking for and find what it is, that's what I'm interested in buying. The bottom line is they're affordable, they're lighter, and they're great in low light. The new Alpine Tetons. Another deer coming out.